Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, I would like to demonstrate how you can create pivot tables and pivot charts from your data. So I have a data set here showing financial information, and the data set is 700 rows big. So I want to create summaries of this data so that we can answer various business questions. And to do that, I'm going to use pivot tables. So for me to create my first pivot table, I go onto the menu here and click on Insert. And under the Tables group, I have the Pivot Table option here. So I click on Pivot Table. Then I have the Create Pivot Table dialog popping up. And it asks me to select a table or a range of cells to include in my pivot table report. Then I want everything to be selected. So the default here is that it has selected all the data in my table. So I'll leave that default as is. And then I need to choose where I want my pivot table report to be placed. I'll choose new worksheet. So I'll leave this selected. If I wanted this pivot table report to be placed on the same worksheet but in a different cell range, of course, I would come and click on existing worksheet, and I would specify the location where I want the pivot table report to be placed. But I want it to be placed on a new worksheet, so I'll click on new worksheet. And I'll leave all other defaults as they are, then click on OK. So after clicking on OK, it creates a new worksheet where my pivot table will appear. So this is my pivot table number 1, and I can answer a business question using this pivot table. Now, if you look on the far right here, these are the fields or the columns that are coming from my original data set here: the segment, country, product, discount band, and so on. So all these are placed here under the pivot table fields, and I'm now able to select any of these columns and place them in these fields so that I can be able to create different reports. For example, I want to know the profit that was made in each country. So what I do is I would drag the country field to the rows, and I have my countries populating my pivot table there. And then I'll go on to the profit column, drag it to values. So this now shows a report of the profit that was made per country. So this is my first pivot table. And if I want to add a pivot chart that corresponds to this pivot table, I then go ahead on to my menu, click on Insert, and go under Charts. I have Pivot Chart here. Click on Pivot Chart, and I select Pivot Chart. And I can select any of these charts that are here to represent my report there. So I want to visualize this report. Let me choose a pie chart there. And I'll choose this pie chart here, the second one, the 3D pie chart, and click on OK. And I have my pivot chart that corresponds to this pivot report showing here. Then I can just double click on the title here, double click on it to change that title. So this will be profit per country. That's my profit per country report visualization. And I want to add a few elements about this chart. I click on the chart elements here, click there, then add the data labels so that I can show the actual values on my pie chart. So there you go. I have my pivot table and the corresponding pivot chart that answers or that rather answer the business question about the profit per country. And if I want to answer another business question, I can go back to my original sheet, insert another pivot table, go to Insert, Pivot Table. I again select the whole table, and I again say New Worksheet. Then I click on OK. Another pivot table comes in there. This is now pivot table number 2. I can answer another business question. Let's say, for example, I want to know the gross sales that were made per segment. I can just drag my segment to the rows and drag gross sales to values. These were the gross sales per segment. I can also insert the pivot chart that corresponds to this summary. I go to insert, under charts, I go to pivot chart and I select pivot chart. And I can select a chart here that can visualize my data. I'll just select the clustered column chart and say OK. That's my class column chart. I double click on the chart title there and I'll simply say gross sales per segment is my chart title. And if I want to add a few chart elements there, click on chart elements. I want my x-axis to be labeled. I want it to be labeled, and under x-axis, double click there. This would be my segment. And on the y-axis, that should be my gross sales. So that's my chart showing my gross sales per segment. And if I want to change the colors of the bars, I just go to chart styles there, and I'll go down a bit. No, I'll choose on color, choose the color, and I change the bars to something else. Let me choose this colorful palette here. So that becomes my pivot chart for this table. Let me go ahead and create another pivot table to answer another business question. I go back to my original data. I want to create another pivot table. I go to insert again. I go under tables. I go to pivot table. I want the same table, yes, the whole table, and I want it to be created on a new worksheet. Click on OK. I have my pivot table number 3. I answer a business question. What were the units sold of each product, for example? Or I can answer what were the units sold per country. I can drag the country there to the rows, and the units sold, I can drag them to the values. Okay, so these were the number of units sold of the products to each of these countries. Likewise, let me insert the pivot chart. I click on insert, and under charts, I click on pivot chart. I select pivot chart. So I choose on the appropriate map that I want there. I'll go again with let me choose the bar chart. I'll choose the bar chart here and click on OK. So I've got my bar chart there, and I'll double click on the title. So this will be units sold per country. That's my report for units sold per country. And if I want the bars to change in terms of color, I can go ahead and go to color there, choose a different color palette, color style. I can choose this one. Let me maybe choose this one so that I maintain uniformity with the other one. So I'll choose this, and I'll add a chart axis there, axis titles. If I need data labels, of course, I'm gonna click on data labels here so that I can have the data labels for each of these bars. Then I label my axis. This will be the unit sold. salt label for my axis there, and this would be the country. So that's my pivot chart for this pivot table. So I'm going to create one more so that I can have at least 4 pivot tables and charts. Go back again to my original data, click on insert on the menu, click pivot table again. The whole data set is selected. Yes, I want it on a new worksheet, so I'll keep this selected. Then I click on OK. My pivot table number 4 appears there. I want to know the unit sold. Let's say the unit sold per product. Choose product, place it under rows, and the unit sold to the values. So for each product, these were the units sold. Likewise, I insert a pivot chart. I go to insert pivot chart. I select pivot chart there, and I can have a pie chart again about this. And insert that pie chart. I selected a 3D pie chart again. I'll have this chart title changed there as the units sold per product. That's my visualization for this pivot table. So when I've created my pivot table here, I think it is also wise to label your worksheets here. This worksheet contains my raw data, so I would right click there, rename, so that I can label my worksheet. I can call this is the data. I go to this one, this is the unit sold per product, so I rename this according to the name of the report, unit sold per product. And I go to the next one. This is the unit sold per country. I right click on the sheet, I rename it and say units sold per country. Yeah, let me just correct this. Units sold per country. I go to the other one. This is the gross sales per segment. So I right click that sheet, rename it gross sales per country. Go to the last one. This is profit per country. I right click, I rename profit per country, like that. So I've created 4 pivot reports here, pivot table reports, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can now go ahead and create a dashboard using these reports. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how you can create a dashboard using these pivot reports and charts. Thank you very much for watching. That's how you can create pivot tables from your dataset. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.